Hi, my name is Daniel Orive. I'm the head of art and co-founder of Dardo Studios.
I'm Omar Parada. I'm the lead VFX artist at Dardo. The project is almost like, I see it like a degustation menu, where you can see many different examples of different effects. Because effects is something that it can be really varied. There are many different kinds of effects and styles and subjects and all that. For a first-person shooter, we wanted to do stylized effects, but also realistic effects. Or we would like to do effects for an RPG, or many different options that we have in mind that we would like to show to potential clients.
So when we start thinking about Bloomhell, and I was kind of like a little bit of just putting some ideas together. It's like, first of all, it's like to showcase our work. So we have to put together a demo reel. So then, when you go out there, you usually see a couple of different reels on the VFX community. One is like they have this kind of like a dark with a squares, with a grid environment in a reel that they just like put some VFX and showcase those. And the other kind of reel is that capturing some gameplay from the game that they are really work on. So those are kind of like the reels that you can see out there. Yeah. So then I was thinking like, why we are not making something that we are mixing both? So we have that dark environment that really helps to pop the VFX and make that work and really like put their attention into the VFX, and why we don't bring a little bit of the storytelling that it came from that gameplay footage. So what happened too is like, obviously we want to put, with the resources that we have, we want to put all the effort on making VFX, so we don't want to create like the background, the characters and everything together. That will be massive work. So then it's like, okay, we can get some assets from the store, some of the characters, some of the environments, but then let's take away any protagonism from those assets. They are not important. The important thing are the VFX. So then let's turn in those, black. Let's remove some of the lighting and just make sure that that light that is coming is from the VFX. So we are kind of like getting the attention from those. We have that kind of like a starting point, which is like, okay, what is the goal? What we're gonna make? What is the big picture? And it's just showcasing this demo reel with these black backgrounds and just like a really flashy VFX. So then it's like, okay, let's decide which games we want to tackle. So, we pick the ones that we were more inspired from. And then, I was looking into, okay, so the marketplace is like, hey, what are the things that I can just pick here and there to build something? Then we already have a kind of like a setup. And then, I work with Geoffrey, which is our VFX concept artist, and talk with him about, okay, what we can do. What is the kind of stories we can tell here with our VFX? Let's take, for example, RPG. It's like RPG is like, hey, we really inspired by Diablo. Like we really like to have something like a really like dark, fantasy oriented. So it's like, it would awesome to have like some blood, like some of the destruction, even like like inspired by someone like a necromancer, and kind of like a bringing death to life. So after having that conversation with Geoffrey, like he went to to the board and started like drawing a bunch of different stuff. It's like he was doing some explorations for the RPG, the over the shoulder, the fantasy, the shooter game, and I think he went off like with so many cool ideas, like actually even for us, it was like a really difficult to pick the ones that we really liked because all of them, they were awesome.
I wanted to do all of them, but
yeah.
There are limits. So.
Yeah, so that was the thing. So then we started just to pick things that probably can complement each other very well. So for example, if we have a fire on the shooter one, then let's not have a fire on the RPG, even if they are different styles. So we wanted to have that variety just to showcase the amount of work we did. From there, we picked the ones that could be close together. We did even put together like a little bit of a storyboard just to see how everything could look together and how is the duration of those. And then we passed that to Omar and his team to, okay, let's make this happen, And
we came up with this idea that Danny has mentioned to add a bit of more kind of gameplay narrative logic to it in some ways. In the RPG, we have two different kind of effects. One that is The theme is blood, and the other one, the theme is dead. And the concepts are really interesting. The death one, for instance, there is one effect that I really enjoyed a lot working on, which is, it has a lot of skeletons, let's say. Skeletons, many of them, but also souls that come to the player. Also, there is a fountain of blood. If you have seen The Shining, Stanley Kubrick film, you will find some similarities on that, because there is a lot of blood. And then the challenge on these ones is trying to convey some, as I said before, trying to convey to them somewhat realistic behavior in some ways. For instance, the one with the skeletons, I really played with Niagara systems to make the movement of the skeletons on the floor and flying on the floor to be realistic, in the sense that it should look like a wave of skeletons coming to you. That was the concept idea. And for that, we tried a lot of different approaches inside Niagara, but we came up with a few ideas that I think they have ended working quite well. I know there are other engines for particles, for real time, but I find Niagara to be the most flexible one, in the sense that it allows for a very procedural way of working. Everything can be scripted there, and you need to understand a bit of scripting inside Niagara and a bit of math. Once you start getting the grips of Niagara Editor, I don't think there is anything you can't do for real time. There are so many things that you can do with that system that is truly inspiring. The bone wave effect that we were discussing is using a combination of physics, shaders, different ways of rendering particles and all that makes for an effect that at the end looks, I think, quite sophisticated in some ways. There is the other set of effects for the RPG that are based on blood, and for these ones we use also another tool which is quite famous, which is Houdini. Houdini can be very well integrated in Unreal pipelines, because there are many tools to export the result of a fluid simulation, and this effect will need blood. So we've been doing blood simulations, basically, and then those things can be brought to the engine. There is not a very specific way of doing effects in general. As I say, depending on the effect, depending on their direction, depending on the camera, depending on how far is going to be the player for that effect, the approach may be completely different. So that's why I think it's very important to tackle the context of the effect.
We also have fun on making
of
art,
course.
you know, the stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
And I think it's something worth to mention too, that on that pipeline, at the end also we did UI. You know, like we have Geoffrey and we have Alessandro. Geoffrey is the concept VFX art, but Alessandro is the 2D animation VFX that they fake the whole UI to make it look like it's a real game.
Like
so
it's a
that,
prototype,
you know, in terms of the pipeline, that was kind of like the wrap up, like having a real UI that kind of like a faking what is going on, and having 2D animations, VFX that are looking amazing. I'm a big fan, for example, like Diablo games, right? Like I've been playing a lot. So it's like RPGs, you know, it's something that it's awesome to tackle because the camera is fixed, so you can go even more crazy and more creative in what you're putting together. So that was, you know, obviously like something we want to do. Then I was playing the Space Marine, the game, you know, and I love like all the VFX, the destruction, all the stuff there. So then the one we're doing, we call it Over the Shoulder with that robot. So that one comes from that inspiration. So I think, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, well, there are many different genres that and different kind of games that we would love to do, but we need to pick just like the ones that we are more excited with, and let's start with those and see what happens. The Over the Shoulder, the robot, when it came together and how it looks, you know, with the purples of the stuff and the big shockwave, I was like, damn, this is getting real. Then Omar, I already told you many times, but that kind of like a simulation that you did in Houdini, like this breaking the floor and getting that kind of like the twister thing, that looks fucking rad. Like I love it. And then I'm a big fan of the big shockwave from the shooter one, that how everything kind of like it's like involving that big sphere and kind of like growing around. That's really beautiful to how it looks. And also, I mean, there are many. But the shotgun, you know, kind of like we have that fire, the scatter shot. Yeah, so that one that is like more like a flip booky animation. It looks beautiful, man. It's look like a really 2D essence there. Like I love it. So, yeah, that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah. The one that I found to be challenging was this one that I mentioned before, the one that we call the bone wave, the one that is skeletons. There are many skeletons there. Lots of people die doing this effect.
Having someone dedicated that really understand how VFX work, what is right, what is wrong, what is like something that it really hit the style and the overall mood that you're looking for, that's massive. And I think that's something, like we are so lucky to have a couple of VFX concept artists dedicated that it's not the formula to make this VFX, because it's a lot of work behind it, but at least it's a good way to start.
Usually VFX artists, we need to scratch our heads a lot and thinking and putting some ideas in front of the art director just to see if the effects could work in some way. I always have wished to have concept artists working for me and doing specific work and dedicated work on VFX, and this is something that we have in Dardo and it's very, very valuable, very, very important for sure.
That's a huge thing to accomplish, because we are so busy working with many different projects and clients. So doing this the extra time and or bringing people that is just fully dedicated in something that is just on the Dardo side. So it's challenging. So just like the fact that we put together, that's a huge accomplishment. Obviously, there are some stuff, when we are, we have many conversations when we are looking at the work of the stuff, like, damn, if I have more time, probably we'll revisit it, we will do that, so then it's like, hey, man, maybe, I don't know, maybe it could be like a Bloomhell 2 in the future, I think the way I like to see art in general is there is a process and there are some different phases. So you're not going to hit excellence at first. It's an exercise of a repetition. It's putting hours what it will make it better. So it's hey, we'll make the time to make more stuff and improve, our processes and our takes, but at least, we can showcase what we do and probably maybe this will spark some conversations out there, and potential collaborations. So yeah, overall pretty happy.
Yeah, me too. I totally agree with what Danny mentions about the process. Doing effects in particular is a very iterative process. It's not something that you can make them in one go and that's it. We are always able to see new things to add. The effects have gone through many iterations. In the spare time that we have had for doing this project, we have found that we would have loved to have more time because it's always a new detail, something that maybe Danny sees and tells me, or I see myself and I say, oh, maybe this could be more interesting if we do this or that. But at some point you need to just say, okay, this is it. This is what we want to release. We are happy with it, and hopefully, as Danny says, people will like it.